Doing it.
Are we in it?
I think so.
Yes. All right. Hopefully this works. So whoever is are we watching this, um, I think it works. I can see on my other end that YouTube is working. So welcome, Kara.
Thank you.
This is very nice. This is my first live interviewing someone, and she's very special. So thank you so much for accepting this. So I'm just gonna give a quick introduction about me, and then I'll pass it on to you.
Sure.
So my name is Elaine Freitas. I am a photographer, and I'm a birth doula. And I met Kara in one of the organizations in our neighborhood. So we are part of NAMA families, and hopefully some of the NAMA families could see this. That's where I met Kara. And I'm very fascinated with the work that Kara does. So I'm going to pass it on to Kara so she can introduce herself. So
Great.
go on.
Thank you. I'm honored to be your first live interview. This is so fun. So my name is Kara Coffin. I'm a perinatal fitness specialist and a pregnancy and postpartum athleticism coach. I am the mother of 3 little kids. So I have a 5-year-old, an almost 5-year-old, an almost 3-year-old, and a 6-month-old. So I'm in the thick of it right there with all of you. And I just really love helping women just connect deeper to their body and to themselves and these stories and narratives that we write for ourselves around movement and motherhood and how we can shift some of these beliefs that we hold to get closer to our bodies and closer to ourselves and be more joyful in motherhood and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we really forget when we have babies and have kids is about ourselves. And it's really important to know and take care of ourselves so we can have that, right?
So when you're pregnant, there's all this focus on like you, and everybody's always asking, how are you doing? How are you feeling? You know, all that sort of stuff. And then once you have a baby, all the focus is sort of shifted onto baby. So I think that as a society, we need to be better about, making sure that we're honoring that transition into motherhood and that we're supporting mothers better in the postpartum period.
Yes, I talked to a friend yesterday about that. It is so true. When you're pregnant, everything is about you. You look great. And then once you shift to the baby, it's all about the baby, but we forget about mom.
Yeah.
And we forget about ourselves too. So I have 2 kids. One is 20 and my daughter is 20 and my son is 13. So they're older. But I work with a lot of moms, and as a doula too, it's amazing to be close to moms and the babies. So and this is the intention of this life. Because I'm fascinated with your work. That's why I was like, do you want to do a live and we can give information for moms that need that? Yes. We are hoping that this can reach someone that it's in, or either in the pregnancy, because if you prepare on the pregnancy, it's so much easier once you have to face the hard, right? And you just had a baby. So what do you, like, as just a new mom of the 3rd kid, what would you like advise to the moms?
Oh gosh.
So many.
Yeah. Loaded question. I feel like as a mom of 3, with my 3rd baby, I made a lot of shifts in my birth planning and how I wanted to navigate this postpartum period this time around. I think that the first baby is just a huge, just completely rocks your world.
Yeah.
No matter, even if you've been around babies your whole entire life, just it's something that you can't prepare for until you do it yourself, really. Just in the way that it shifts your identity and just everything.
Yeah.
And then I felt like with my second baby, I kind of had to like prove myself, like I can still do everything that I want to do. I'm like a super mom. And then with my third, I dealt with like a little bit of like trauma with my first two births, and so my third time around, I was like, I'm gonna do everything in my power to make it a more pleasant experience, to make it a more powerful and empowered experience. So I think this time around, I've just been able to be more present, be more mindful, to allow myself to like make more shifts and understand that like just get through every single day. And it adds a whole other element being in the middle of a pandemic with a newborn. But it's really just a matter of like just going with the flow every single day, um, and being a lot more gentle with myself.
Yeah, I find that talk with moms that I'm gonna say they because I've been gone through this a long time ago. But
Mhm.
so the moms that I talk, they like, well, I'm doing this. It's not perfect, but it's okay. And I'm like, yes, this is
Mhm.
what you have to realize. It does not have to be perfect.
Yeah.
We as women, we tend to want everything perfect. And as a mom, you want everything perfect, but it's not going to be perfect. Um, like in so many ways
Yeah.
that, and then when you have a baby, the guilt comes together.
Yeah.
And that never goes away.
Yeah. And so what are all of those? Those are all just like stories that we wrote. Like what is perfect?
What is perfect? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is perfect for me doesn't necessarily can be perfect for you.
Right.
um so what is perfect? It's that expectation that us make in our mind, and then we are so hard on ourselves with the baby, especially the first one. You just have to learn everything, and the baby has to learn everything with
Right.
you too. But it's that perfect idea of being perfect.
Hmm.
What is the perfect, right?
Right.
So
It's so hard because with so much of social media, you're either getting like two ends of the spectrum, like either of these horror stories from people or horror stories from people in like the comment section, or you're seeing just these beautiful scenes of people like birthing in a birth tub in a field of flowers with like wind chimes and crystals and all this sort of stuff. So it's like you either think it has to be like one way or the other way, that it's black and white, but really it's not, that somewhere in the middle, that's what the perfect is for you. And that's going to change for everybody, no, depending on who you are.
yeah.
And I think that's just this common thing with motherhood, is that we write these stories for ourselves and we fixate on like, this is what's going to happen. Like when you write a birth plan, like this is what's going to happen, where if any little component of that birth story goes off of the storyline that you wrote for yourself, then you feel like you're a failure. Then comes the mom guilt, then comes the shame, like then comes all of these things that are going to set you off on this trajectory of your motherhood that are just like not, they just, it's icky. It doesn't make you feel good, for lack of a better word, you know? So, what can we do to educate and empower our moms and tell them all of the options and make sure that we're supporting them in all of the ways that we possibly can, so that when something goes off of that storyline, when something goes a little bit astray, they're able to say, okay, this is just a variation of normal, and I can get right back on track and create a new story for myself, with the supports that I have. I can make empowered decisions about what shifts I want to make during labor, what shifts I want to make during my postpartum.
Yeah.
If breastfeeding is challenging, like that's okay. The facts of the matter are like, okay, my baby isn't latching. That doesn't mean that you're a bad mom. That doesn't mean that you have a difficult baby. That just means that you need a little bit of help, and that's okay.
Yeah. I know. I hear moms say, I don't have enough milk. And with all the stress, it just comes that like I'm not being enough, right? And then the stress come and sadness, and of course you're not going to produce milk enough for the baby because there's this whole thing about I'm not enough.
Yeah.
So
Cascade of like negative feelings about
yeah.
your motherhood and your baby and your experience and your worth and all this stuff. It's just all wrapped up in these stories that we create that aren't true. They're just stories.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the birth plan because I've heard so many people when we do the prenatal as a doula, they're like, what is a birth plan? Not many people know what's a birth plan. It's a birth plan is, it can be written or it can be just in your head, like what are your preference? And to have a plan is just to let your provider know what your preference, if you want to natural, if you want to unmedicated it or not, if you want to breastfeed it or not. So it's just a plan that we make during pregnancy that you can let your partner know, you can let your provider know, or your doula or your midwife or whoever is going to be in your birth, but at least you prepare before. So it's kind of a preparation for your birth. But not everything goes as you plan. All the moms needs to know that it can go different directions. And sometimes I feel like the birth plan is just to have a knowledge about what are your options and if you have a choice. But to make a choice, you have to be informed.
Right.
To know, because there's so many moms that they just go to the birth and they don't know. Doctor asks questions and you're like, yeah, but they don't even ask, what are my options? Do I have an alternative options or so what? So I just want to go back that because you talk about birth plan. So
Yeah.
and the same thing is postpartum, right? We have this plan of like after I come home, I have the baby, this is what I'm gonna do, and the expectation you're gonna have. And in fact, talking about the topic that you are doing, which is helping moms to do movement and exercise and what to do to better feel better. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I feel like moms, they want to get out of the hospital and they're like, I want to lose weight, I want to get fit, but I still have this belly and it never goes away. So I would like you to talk about more, please.
Sure. Yeah. For postpartum.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can start if you want to start from the pregnancy and then go postpartum. So whichever you.
Okay. I'll just say that for both pregnancy and postpartum, a lot of what I focus on with my clients is connecting deeper to your core and your pelvic floor. And this can help you in a lot of different ways. So when you're pregnant, your abdominals, your muscles have to stretch to accommodate a growing baby and your growing uterus. And this is normal and a regular part of pregnancy and birth. But what we want to do is make sure that we can stay as connected to that deep core and pelvic floor as possible so that we can just make sure that you are more comfortable throughout your pregnancy, so that we're reducing those aches and pains that you may have, like back pain, upper back pain, lower back pain, a lot of pelvic stuff that can be uncomfortable. Personally, in my pregnancies, I've had a lot of pubic symphysis pain, like right in the middle of your pubic bone, and then also some SI joint pain, so in your lower back. And just because there's a lot of shifts and moving and additional weight that you're putting on, and then the weight of the baby in your uterus. It's just really common to have quite a few aches and pains during pregnancy. But the good end of it is that there are a lot of things that we can do to make you more comfortable during your pregnancy and during that early postpartum period. So I will say that with my clients, I really don't focus a lot on weight loss. I focus more on helping you feel more connected to your body, helping you feel stronger and more empowered to move about your day in ways that you're not going to be in pain, in ways that you're going to feel stronger and more connected to yourself. And the most important things that you can do after you have your baby is to do these deep core and pelvic floor exercises so that you're able to really engage and protect all of those your organs and your pelvic floor and all of those things that are slightly compromised in those early days of postpartum. So what a lot of people want to do is, or a lot of the advice that people get is for the first 6 weeks, right? Because we have that 6-week checkup, which that's a whole other probably interview you could do. But that first week checkup, they say, okay, like don't do anything for those first 6 weeks. And then after those 6 weeks, you go to your doctor or your provider and they say, okay, you're cleared for regular exercise. So in that 6-week period, you've been doing nothing. And then all of a sudden people think that they can go back to their classes, that they can go back to running, that they can go back to doing all the things that they were doing before, when really there's been no sort of reconnection or rehabilitation effort being made. So then once you start moving again, you might start developing pain. You might start developing some incontinence. You might just not feel good. Everything feels different and strange.
Because you stopped and then suddenly you want to do everything and your muscles are not ready. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So your muscles aren't reconnected to themselves. And then also if you are breastfeeding, you have some of that relaxin still in your system. So your joints and ligaments may be a little bit unstable. And then also, you just went through 10 months of growing a baby, and it's going to take a little while and pregnancy just naturally in and of itself deconditions you. So you have to do some efforts to get back into your routine slowly and intentionally, rather than just jumping right back into what you were doing beforehand. And a lot of that, what's going to make you more successful is doing a lot of those deep core and pelvic floor exercises and gradually building you up to a place where you can do more high intensity stuff like jumping, running, all that sort of stuff.
That's so amazing. I mean, I find there's so many women don't even realize that they have to work the pelvic floor before they get pregnant.
Yeah.
And then once they get pregnant, they're like, what I mean, when we talk about like doing some exercise, why are you pregnant? So at birth, it helps, right? If you work those muscles and but not many people know that.
Yeah. So it's actually the very best thing that you can do for yourself. And I think that all women should do this, is go and see a pelvic floor physical therapist, which I'm not. I'm a personal trainer, but I do work closely with some pelvic floor physical therapists. So the thing is that the causes of some of these things like incontinence and pain, it could be due to having too weak of a pelvic floor, or it could be due to having too tight of a pelvic floor. And the only way that you can tell whether or not you are overactive or underactive is if you go to see a pelvic floor physical therapist and they do an internal examination, which sounds scary, but it's much more comfortable than anything you will ever have done to you in a gynecological office.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, what they do is they will take like a gloved finger with some lubricant on it and insert it into your vagina, and then test to see your muscle coordination, your muscle strength, the tension, and how tight everything is. Whereas when you go to the gynecologist, they're, inserting instruments and it's bright lights and it's just, it's totally different. It sounds kind of intimidating, but it's really not. So the best way to tell, to assess what you're working with is to go and get an assessment done. So when you are pregnant, it's especially beneficial, because if you are a person who's having pain during your pregnancy, we want to make sure that we're able to fully relax your pelvic floor muscles and fully contract them in order for them to work properly. So I like to often explain it to people, like, if you think of your pelvic floor muscles like a hand, our hands need to be able to like fully extend to be able to like wave hello and all that sort of stuff, and then fully contract and able to be able to grip things and hold things, right? So if you have too weak pelvic floor muscles, they're not going to be able to use that full range of motion. If your pelvic floor muscles are too tight, they're in like sort of like a constant claw where they can't fully relax. So you can't like wave hello and do all the things you need to do with your open palm, right? So you need your pelvic floor muscles to be able to do all those things, fully relax and fully contract to work properly. So, and also it's beneficial to figure that out before your birth, because it's really important for you to be able to release and relax those pelvic floor muscles in order to push the baby out or allow the baby to work its way down the birth canal.
Yes.
Your
That's
pelvic floor
really,
muscles work with your bone structure of your pelvis and baby's head to help, kind of like a spiral staircase, allow baby to move and position and rotate the way that it needs to birth efficiently.
yeah. There are sometimes at birth, we, as a doula, we hear sometimes the doctor say, or the nurse, that your pelvic floor is so tight.
Yeah.
Right at the time of the pushing. And that's, it's scary because you're at birth and you're trying to push, but how do you relax? So do you find that working with your clients, they do have more of sense how to work with the pelvic floor during birth? What
Yeah.
do you say?
Yeah, a lot of people, this is a completely, totally brand new concept at first. So if I ask them to tune into their pelvic floor, they often don't. They're like, I don't feel anything.
Where is it?
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. So working together, we get them to, get a little bit more intimate with the musculature down there. And then also do a lot of breathing exercises, because your breath is, it coordinates with your pelvic floor. So what's important, especially during that pushing stage of labor, is not so much to be like bearing down and pushing, but more so to be able to contract your abdominal muscles and then completely release and relax your pelvic floor muscles. So you're focusing more on an opening rather than like a bearing down. And I'm sure you've talked a lot about that, or have witnessed that, that purple pushing versus like a mom directed pushing, where they're able to breathe through those contractions, breathe through the pushing, rather than bearing down and breaking blood vessels and all that.
Yes. Sometimes I had moms that they would bite their lips, and those are one of the things that as a doula we're like, try to breathe out while you're pushing, because otherwise you will hurt. With my daughter, I noticed that I had a lot of blood vessels on my lips, because probably I was just doing this pushing. So this is one of the things that we work. So if you work previous while you're pregnant with a personal trainer like you will have more awareness where to feel and how to be a better pushing during birth.
Yeah. So if you think about it, most people, like, when is the first time that they are told how to push? Usually it's 10 centimeters dilated. The doctor will put a finger by your perineum and say, okay, push into my finger. And then they'll count. And that's the first guidance you're getting on how to push.
Yeah.
Where we could be working on these things for like months before, not like practicing pushing, but practicing releasing and relaxing and coordinating your breath and coordinating that pelvic floor release, so that when it does come time for you to get to that pushing stage of labor, that you are more connected to your body, and that you're not like, okay, I guess I'll just,
what do I do
to your finger? Like, I don't know, pretend I'm pooping.
I don't know where I'm pushing.
Yeah. Like, why aren't we getting a little bit more guidance on that before you're like on the,
imagine with an epidural that you don't feel, how you're gonna be guided.
Yeah.
Right.
So even more important with an epidural, right, is that you have some mind muscle connection to your pelvic floor so that you're able to, even though you can't necessarily feel what's going on, you still
But
have
it's
that
a
mind muscle
pressure.
connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Um, so during pregnancy, working with a client, a lot of the things that we work on in that early stage is really just making sure that we're keeping you comfortable, that we're maintaining as much strength as we can, that we're honoring your energy levels throughout, especially that first trimester, man. Like, whew, it's exhausting. And so if you're like really, a lot of the time movement can make you feel better and give you more energy, but if you're like really overdoing it, you want to just make sure you're really honoring your energy level so that if you're having a day where you're just feeling like completely exhausted and can't get off the couch, like that's okay. Like we can work with that.
Yeah,
um,
that's so important.
yeah. And then in your second trimester, trying to make sure that we're maintaining some of your endurance, maintaining some of your strength. We're working on some things like I do labor training with my clients. So um, it's alternating between like high intensity, fast movement that is simulating the endorphins that you would produce during a contraction, and then getting right onto the floor, releasing, relaxing, trying to get as relaxed as you can, to sort of simulate what like that labor contraction cycles would be like.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite fun things to do. And then in that third trimester, about halfway through, we start to, in like the last 6 to 8 weeks, we start to really make sure that we're slowing down again, that we're honoring that transition period during the last couple weeks of your pregnancy. So we're doing a lot of things that just like feel good, going for long walks, trying to connect more with nature, like just stretching and breathing exercises, making sure that we're doing some movements that can possibly help baby get into a better position for birth, those sorts of things.
So how do you work with clients? Like if people wanted to hire you, um, how do they work with you? Especially
So,
now with the COVID. So
yeah.
explain a little bit about that.
So pre-pandemic, I would go and I would go into people's homes and do their initial assessment and create a plan. Sometimes all people really needed was one consultation with me, and then other times they would want to do one-on-one coaching together. So I do have options where I can come and work out with you. I can't do that right now. And then I also have like online programming. So that would include your initial assessment. And then I have a mobile app that I would put all of your programming in. So you just have to pull it up on your phone and your program's right there for you to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. And then depending on what sort of support you want, I sometimes email with clients. I sometimes text with clients. Some people have like a video call once a week. It's very customizable, depending on what sort of support people want and what sort of guidance they need and what their goals are.
And what if people already had the baby? Can they still hire you to do like postpartum?
Yep. Yeah. Same deal.
So they choose whatever they want to work on it, and then you
Yeah.
do online now.
Yes. Yep. It's all online right now, which breaks my heart, but
I
because
know.
I love being like hands-on with people and like love touching bellies if I'm able to. And then
It's
seeing those
so
new
fun.
babies, I just feel like I don't know, it's just the
I
best
know.
thing.
I know. I just had a call with a client about newborn session, and I was like, oh, it breaks my heart because I'm still doing newborn sessions. But right now, it all depends of the parents if they wanted me to wrap the baby. So I'll come to their house, but I won't. I said to her, I won't be holding the baby too long, which is so bad because that's what I love to do.
I know, it's the best.
But it is, we have to embrace and adjust with the situation that we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do the best that we can, because I mean, if you can't be in person, but at least do some. I always tell my clients, movement is everything. If you move, it's going to be good for your pregnancy, it's going to be good for your birth, and you have to move afterwards too, like you just said.
Yeah.
I did not know about the exercise part, that you can move even after.
Mhm.
So that's really important information for moms, that not many people know, I guess.
Yeah. So what I do with my early postpartum moms, like I have these, they're called new mama flows, and they're just these videos that you can do. They're guided. So I talk you through it and do it with you. Um, and they're all things that you can do either in bed or on the couch. And they're gentle stretches that target spots like your upper back if you're hunched over from holding or feeding baby all the time.
Yes.
Um, Lots of like chest openers, just trying to like help you open up and feel a little bit less tense from all those early days of having a newborn. Um, so that's what I usually do with people for the first like 4 weeks, are just these new mama flows. And honestly, like some people find it really easy to get them to do them, and some people are like, I still don't have the time. Which, it's the funniest thing is that newborns really don't like do anything, and you're like not really doing much all day, but then you don't but you really don't have time for like anything else. All of
Yeah.
a sudden the day is gone. Oh,
Yeah.
my first few weeks with my third, I was just like, how has it been
How it
2
just was flying.
Totally. And then after that, we can start doing some more rehabilitative movements to really help you connect deeper to your core and your pelvic floor. And all this is going to also help those areas, because the more that you move and contract and do these exercises that target these specific areas, the more it's going to draw blood flow to your pelvic floor and to all those areas to help stimulate tissue healing. Sorry, having word finding issues. Tissue healing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's great. So one of the things that we talked about before, and I don't know what does that mean when you said that you like to talk about diastasis.
Oh yeah, diastasis recti. Yeah, I feel like
Okay.
it's just a really hot topic for people right now, and it gets a lot of airtime on like social media and mom groups and stuff, where people will post pictures of their belly, and I feel like there's always like 100 comments saying like, "Oh, you probably have diastasis." So,
What does that mean?
yeah, so it is when, so as I said, your belly has to expand to accommodate a growing baby and a growing uterus. So by 38 weeks pregnant, I think it's something like 98% of women have a separation of your abdominal muscles. It's normal. It's a normal physiological part of pregnancy. Um, but for most people, for 2/3 of people, it will come back to midline on its own after pregnancy. But there are a third of people who need a little bit more help, either through physical therapy or working with somebody like me, and that sort of thing. So what can happen is that because you have this separation of your abdominals, it just can make it so that you have people. Some people call it like a mummy tummy. So it just can make some people look like they're still pregnant. Some people feel just like hollow at their midline, all that sort of stuff. So it gets a bad rap.
Mhm.
Um, but there are a lot of things that you can do to help
Right.
generate more tension at your midline. And there are a lot of things that people are told that they cannot do when they have a diastasis, when really you can.
That's
Yeah, so it's not
interesting.
as scary as it's made out to be. And another thing that really drives me a little bit mad is that when people post these pictures in like mom groups or whatever, and everyone is just like, maybe there's something wrong with you. Maybe there's something wrong with you. Maybe you have diastasis. Like maybe that's just a postpartum belly? Like,
Yeah.
can we just let people be postpartum? And can we just be okay with these,
Yeah.
with our bellies looking different? Do we always have to try to be fixing things?
I often tell moms that you have to be patient. You can't go back to normal. I'm sure there are people that just go back to their normal bodies, but you have to be patient. You just grew a human inside of you, and you breastfeeding, and you went through this whole process of the birth. You just have to give yourself time.
Yeah,
And it's so hard for everyone to accept that.
it
And
is hard.
I've had moms that are like, I'm not buying any clothes while I'm pregnant, and I'm gonna fit in my clothes when I have the baby. But how long do you have to be back on your the shape that you were before pregnant? Like, do you ever? Some people don't ever go back,
Yeah.
right? And then this expectation in your mind, you just like not feeling okay, not feeling beautiful. So we need to make more aware of this, this process. It is a process, and you have to give time.
Yeah. And if if things don't change, if this is your body, that's fine.
It is what it is. Yeah.
There's no, your worth is not determined by what your body looks like postpartum.
No.
And the other thing about that is, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. It is, tissue healing can take up to 2 years. So we're so apt to want to, snap right back, bounce right back, but really, your tissues just underwent a huge, like your tissues were stretched the furthest they're probably ever going to be stretched, unless you have another baby or you have twins, or, I mean, this is like monumental. So we have to make sure that we're properly hydrating ourselves, we're properly nourishing ourselves, that we're giving ourselves the time to heal from the inside out. And the other piece of it is that a lot of this is stuff that we can't really, they don't know like the cause of diastasis. They don't know what causes it. They don't know how to prevent it. It's mostly determined by your genetics. So, if you, there's just really not like that much you can do about it. And I think that a lot of the times people are shamed into, oh, well, I should have done this and I should have done that and I should have hired this person. And then if I did that, then maybe I wouldn't be in this situation. But really, there's not like too much that we can really do about it. But there are a lot of things you can do afterwards to allow yourself to heal and to get that help and support, like we said again, right?
Yeah.
This is your path now, and what can we do to help support and guide you and empower you in your decision making and how to make this journey easier for you.
Yeah. And do you work with moms like in that coaching process of postpartum? Because I feel like if you don't have someone to push you, like you got to move, you got to walk, you got to do some exercise. How do you work with moms? How is that connection you with them?
Yeah. We talk a lot about your goals, and I'm not personally the type of coach that's going to be like, "Did you do your workout today? I saw you didn't check in on the app." Like being a mom is just like so hard, and there's so much going on, that I am here to support you and talk you through if you're having a bad day and you're like, "Listen, I'm just really not feeling like working out. I haven't worked out in 3 days, blah, 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 blah." I will help talk you through that and coach you through that. But I'm not like a drill instructor coach. Like, I'm not going to be like on you.
Yeah.
Do your programming. This is more of like a collaborative approach, more so than me like telling you what to do. And it's like my way or the highway.
Yes.
Because you're a person and a human and an adult, and you can make your own decisions about your life and what you're capable of doing.
But sometimes it's good to have someone on your side.
Totally.
That will help you to go through, because it is hard to move or to leave the baby.
Yeah, there is that accountability factor. And then there's also the piece where a lot of people are like, what can I do? What can I do? And what can I not do? Like, what's the best programming for me? I just want a plan. Just tell me what to do. And I can provide that for you.
Oh, that's amazing. I
Yeah.
think it's very valuable work that you do. And I hope many more moms can find you, because it's helpful to have someone to have the support and to have, to move, because that will make you to just feel better
Yeah. Thank
before
you.
having the baby and after having the baby.
Yeah.
So I think that you talk about all the questions that I had. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I just think that this is a journey for so many people, and there's so much wrapped up in motherhood and in bodies, and I think we overall need to be just more gentle with ourselves, and really questioning if you're having like negative thoughts or things that are coming up for you that are making you just feel not great in your motherhood journey. Just questioning where those thoughts are coming from and if they're true.
Yeah,
If the root of them are true.
yeah. We often talk about why do we always have to think, or either in the past or in the future, right?
Mhm.
Like, what is the past? It's the past. It's done. There's nothing you can change. In the future, you never know. So
Yeah.
ask yourself, how am I today? How am I now? Am I safe? I'm okay. My baby's okay or not? Trying to be more present.
Yeah. That
And
mindfulness piece is really important.
yeah, because the future, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know how is it going to be tomorrow. We don't know how is it going to be an hour. So why
Totally.
we have to be excessive thinking, or most of the time negative thinking, right? um, I'll go back to those questions. Am I enough? And
Yeah.
often moms are just so hard on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, which is part of our wiring as humans, is that we have this negativity bias to always, because we were wired to survive. You're not necessarily created. You weren't necessarily, your brain wasn't wired in order to be like happy and fulfilled. Your brain was wired in order to survive. So when you start spiraling down these negative emotions or negative thoughts, it's difficult to sort of pull you out of that because that's your default programming. But the more that we practice like questioning and being aware of the things that we're thinking, and aware of whether or not these thoughts playing through our mind are actually true, the more we can sort of clear a path to a new sort of programming for ourselves.
Yeah. And plus all the hormones that change with
Oh yeah.
pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. Like, it's
Oh,
too
it's a
many
lot.
hormones.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
A
And
lot.
doing exercise helps.
Yeah.
Help you to just, get this hormones. What is the oxytocin?
Oxytocin.
Oxytocin.
Mhm.
Good when you do exercise, and then it gets your body better.
Yeah. And the more that we are practicing stimulating those feel good hormones, the oxytocin and endorphins, the better we'll be able to sort of tap into that when you're in labor, and even when you're in postpartum.
Yeah.
You're having a bad day or you're having a frustrating day, like what can we do to reset that? What can we tap into that we've practiced in the past, to sort of just like change your day around or reframe things, or just try to make like the day a little more survivable.
A little less stressful.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, not perfect, but just like take the edge off a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. We need that. We need that calm. We need that peace. We need to be more present. Like, just what you have is enough. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we're done with all my questions. And
Okay.
how can people find you? So if you want to say it, or the
Yeah.
website?
I am most present on Instagram. My handle is at kara.coffin. And then I have my website, www.karacoffin.com. I'm not too hard to find if you just Google my name. And then I'm occasionally on Facebook as well. But yeah, Instagram is where I'm most present as far as social media goes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate, and I think we survived the first live.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you for being patient. Before that, I was like, Kara, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if it's gonna work. But I guess it's work, and I hope it's saved on YouTube and people can see it and find you in that way.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you,
It was
Elaine.
a pleasure to see you again, and I hope from this, many other moms can find you and trying to make their body better and their experience better.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much and have a good night.
You too.